Someone forgave you once, remember? Or twice. Truth be told, all of us have stories that would surprise those sitting right next to us. Not only our stories, but the stories of our children. And we go on. Paul continues saying, only Luke is with me, then adds, if you will, on your way, will you pick up Mark, meaning John Mark, and bring him with you, for he is useful to me for service. Now that makes me smile. I'm glad to read Paul here at the end of his life saying, make sure Mark comes. Remember the day when he stood toe-to-toe with Barnabas and they duked it out verbally? Barnabas said he failed us when we were at Pamphylia, but he was young, inexperienced, immature. He was afraid, and he saw the rigors as only getting greater. Ultimately, it would have been too much for him, and he sailed back home. Paul said in return, we'll not take a man with us who defected. We need those who are strong of spirit. Now, in your heart and in mine, when we kick in the compassion, we go with Barnabas. And we remember our Savior's words that have to do with coming to him, we who were weak and overburdened, and he will give us rest. And we want to say to Paul, listen to Barnabas. On the other hand, we understand Paul. He could have even quoted a verse of scripture out of Proverbs. Confidence in an unfaithful man in a time of trouble is like a broken tooth and a foot out of joint. There. Barnabas would have to listen and blink and realize he was a man in whom we lost confidence. And so the story continues. Barnabas and Paul separate. Paul chooses Silas and travels north. Barnabas gets on the boat and sets sail for Crete, his homeland, with his cousin, John Mark. His arm around him, telling him there'll be a better day. This is the better day. Paul, at the end, under stress, is big enough to lift up and encourage one who has recovered from a fall. That's the third thing I want you to remember. As your stress grows, as pressures intensify, some of those who have disappointed you will in fact defect. And it will be your great, great temptation, I know what I'm talking about, to write them off and to remember their fall rather than realize God's grace is at work in their lives. And you will forget that the goal is to restore such a one in a spirit of meekness, considering yourself, lest you also be tempted. Galatians chapter 6, verse 1. The goal is not judgment forever, it is ultimate restoration. And Paul, I'm sure, realizes by now Mark has proved himself, and his goal is to lift up and encourage a man he once rejected. It takes broad shoulders to do that, especially if you are a powerful and influential individual. Especially when you have those that you really don't need, quote unquote, who could fall again, and sometimes do. All this to say that as you grow older and as the stress intensifies, may you grow in grace as well as truth.